The following program is paid for by the Real Estate Radio Network.
You're listening to Real Estate Radio Fresno on 105.9 The FM KMJ. Now, live in studio, your host, local real estate expert, Craig Barton.
Good morning, Central California. I'm your host, Craig Barton, and welcome to the Real Estate Radio Network, the most important hour of radio each week, here on 105.9 The FM KMJ. Real Estate Radio is a show dedicated to bringing some rational thought to the crazy world that we live in and helping you to rebuild the Central Valley's housing and credit markets. You know, Michelle, within every market, there are solutions, as well as tremendous opportunities.
Well, I hope you're bringing them to the table today.
I am going to. We're going to bring out all the deals today. This is your local Groupon here on KMJ. You just need some trusted advice, and that's exactly what you're going to hear every Sunday morning from 7 to 8 a.m. right here on 105.9 The FM KMJ. Good morning, kids.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You're a little subdued this morning.
I have a headache.
You have a headache?
I have a headache.
Yeah?
Yeah.
This spillover from Saturday night or what?
No, I wish. A couple hours, been going on a couple hours now.
I wasn't trying to insinuate anything.
I was taking ibuprofen. It's not helping.
Yeah?
So if anybody has a quick remedy, Facebook me.
Yeah? Have you tried any coffee this morning yet?
I did have coffee.
Did
I had
you?
coffee before I left the house, and then I took ibuprofen, and that's not helping.
Yeah.
So maybe you could take my head home with you, and I'll take my body, and then we'll meet again tomorrow at work.
Make it all better?
Gosh, I wish.
Usually when we're working on your head, it doesn't include ibuprofen.
Yes, Dr. Laura. Good
So,
grief.
Sarah, we're continuing where we left off last week about your boyfriend.
Good morning, Craig. I'm here.
Good morning.
I'm happy dappy.
Yeah, you are happy dappy. As always, it's so great to have my special.
You keep using that word special, Johnny. It's concerning.
I keep wanting to say special ed co-host, Michelle Lynn Pettis.
Thank you. You said it right today.
I did.
That's my
I have been saying
official
it right. What are you
legal
talking
name.
About? You just usually run me over right when I'm introducing you.
Hey, we got friends in the
Yeah,
studio
we do have
today.
friends. We've got peeps here in the studio.
I'm
We've
gonna
got
start
Mike
singing that
Hewitt.
Barney song. I love you.
boy.
You love me. Oh,
All right. Yeah. Once again, you're right over my
sorry.
intro to Mike. Mike, can you shut her up, buddy?
I don't think that's possible, but I really enjoy your company anyway, so we're going to go with it, know?
we've been talking business.
Did you hear that? Despite you, Michelle.
I know. In spite of myself, we're going to get through this day.
We're fortunate to have Mike Hewitt from Farmers Insurance here in the studio with us this morning. Thanks so much, Mike, for getting up with us.
He doesn't have
Great to be here.
overalls on.
He does.
Farmers, don't they wear overalls?
Oh, boy.
Just
That's
kidding.
how it all started.
Is it how it started? Nice.
Help a sister out, Mike, would you
That's
please?
right.
Definitely.
I love the stories.
There you go. The real estate radio and the commercials. The commercials, I have to say, are pretty
Touching.
Yeah, more than touching.
They're getting better all the time.
Farmers University.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it. The Real Estate Radio Network gives us the opportunity to reach so many people efficiently for 1 full hour each and every week. Our goal at the Real Estate Radio Network is to get you, our listeners, the timely and accurate truth about your local real estate market, so we can help bring you
Back home.
On today's show, foreclosures fall to pre-housing bust levels. We're back to neutral.
That's what they're saying.
Yeah, well, I still think we have a little work to do. And what can we learn from the city of Detroit bankruptcy filing, the largest bankruptcy filing in U.S. history? $18 billion.
Billion with a B.
Billion with a B.
Wow.
And be on the lookout for a new higher property tax bill coming your way
Wait a minute.
soon. I'll tell you more. Stay
right.
tuned, yeah. And the top 10 ways to increase the value of your home. Is it those gold toilets that are really going to push it over the top?
No.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk more about that later. We're also going to take some listener questions. We've got 3 really great listener questions. We always get great listener questions. It's usually a little difficult to pare them down to share with you on a Sunday morning. Make sure you stay with us. Again, if you have any real estate or mortgage-related questions or questions regarding the information that Michelle, Mike, and myself share with you on the show, it all starts with one call. That's a call from you. Give us a call anytime, 800-979-3958. Again, that's 800-979-3958. You can also take us wherever you go and listen to us on your smartphone with the iPeak tuner that you can download at the App Store, or you can listen to us online at kmjnow.com. You can also go to our website, check out our resources online, search for Your New Home, by going to valleywidesells.com.
I'm confused.
You're confused? What's
Yeah,
that?
I didn't know we had some new way, fancy schmancy way to listen to us. So I'd like a little education.
Okay.
What's the iPeak Tuner app?
The iPeak Tuner is an app. If you go to your app store, now I have an iPhone, just like you have an iPhone.
Mine's prettier. Just saying. I just want you to remember that.
All right. Well,
I have a pretty app. A pretty iPhone.
You can take your prettier phone to the App Store.
Okay. I go there.
Download iPeak Tuner. That's
iPeak Tuner.
A little I, like iPhone, and then Peak, P-E-A-K.
Like a mountaintop.
There you go. Tuner. And you can actually download that. Now, here's the deal. You can listen to all sorts of KMJ programming.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice. I feel like I was in the dark.
No, it's
I have been enlightened.
Yeah, or you can listen online. Go to KMJ now.
Awesome.
Yeah, you can take us with you if you really dare.
Hey.
So as I was mentioning, you can also go online, search for your new home at valleywidesells.com. To friend us on Facebook, use press 4 keywords.
Friend Valleywide on Facebook.
Or use press 4 keywords.
KMJ, call Valleywide.
To get connected to us, i.e. call into the show anytime. We'd love to hear from you.
Nice.
Well, let's take a look at today's hot property. Today's hot properties are brought to you by Perfect Inspections. Whether it's residential, multifamily, or commercial, use press 4 keywords, Perfect Home Inspections, or you can call Dale Devereaux today for your perfect home inspection. And you can call Dale at 352-6941. Again, that's 352-6941. You can call Dale and get a no-obligation quote as to what it's going to cost for you to get yourself in the know and protect yourself on the largest purchase of a lifetime.
Does it need new tires?
No. It doesn't
or a new engine? That's what I compared it to.
I don't want to get you started. Well, I don't want to get you started on something about a car because we were just talking about that before we came into the studio. Well, today's hot property is
evil.
It is. It is.
That's another show, Greg.
It is a whole other show, Mike.
Hey, I love this property, though. I do.
This is a woodside home. Let's see here. 6937 East Princeton Avenue, Fresno, California, 93727. This HUD home, and as we mentioned, a HUD home is a property that's owned by the Department of Housing and Urban Development. Unfortunately, the previous homeowners lost the property through the process of foreclosure. Their bank took the property back, filed a claim with HUD, and they had FHA financing on the property, and now HUD is marketing it as a HUD home. First 30 days for this property, you need not compete with investors or second home. I love it.
So beautiful.
Yeah, this 3,452 square foot, 4-bedroom, 3-bath, it's a 2-story home, was built in 2009, just appraised recently with an FHA appraisal of $325,000.
Do you know that's less than $100 a square foot?
I love it.
And it's in a gorgeous community.
It is. Bidding deadline on this HUD home is August 1st at 11:59 p.m.
Plenty of time.
Central Standard Time. You can save yourself the cost of an appraisal, which is typically $450 if you're a buyer, or you can save your buyer, if you are an agent, the cost of an appraisal, because this appraisal is completely 100% portable if you're utilizing FHA financing.
Do you see the flooring in that?
Yeah. It's
gorgeous.
Nice.
Wow.
One section of the home, or actually quite a bit of the home on the first story, looks like it's
wood laminate or something.
Yep.
Nice.
Exactly. So if you'd like more information about today's hot property, give us a call anytime. 800-979-3958. Again, that's 800-979-3958. Or use press 4 keywords.
KMJ Hot Property.
And we will send you more information about this hot property right to your phone. Look for more hot properties each week in our hot property segment right here on the Real Estate Radio Network. Well, top stories in the news. You know, we are quickly approaching 1,260. Actually, as of this week, we had 1,260 active listings on the market. That's up 32 units from last week's show.
I hollered yeehaw last week, but
you did.
Yeah. Hey, God's answering my prayers.
Hey,
I'm like, give us some properties on the market.
How much you want to bet next week? I know we've got one bet running right at the moment. By let's see here, by August 1st, that we're going to be up over 1,300 active listings.
I'm thinking we might be.
We both.
And going into the fall, that'll actually that's nice.
That's actually a good thing.
That's a good thing.
We need inventories to increase, and granted, we both have a pretty good idea as to why inventories are increasing.
Yeah, I mean, let's just level things out a little. Level the playing field so the sellers are not pushing too hard on pricing, so that we see some reasonable just movement within the market.
Don't you also feel like when inventories get so restricted or constricted, whatever you want to call it, that sellers tend to forget which side their bread's buttered on. In other words, it
Get
almost
a little greedy,
a little obnoxious at times. Yeah. And granted, that is not any instance where you find a seller is a little overzealous in a market just because simple economics take over. You got to remember one thing. It's like the builders. Dealing with a builder in 2008 and 2009 was very easy. You know why? Because
they needed you.
They needed buyers.
I always find it interesting those that don't work with agents, because we have a substantial amount of buyers calling in looking at property, and not all builders want to work with agents.
Right.
And that's unfortunate because we have a bigger pool generally than they do of buyers.
And I'm going to tell you this. I would gladly, if I felt there was a warm and fuzzy from every builder. Granted, there's some builders that are very easy to work with, that are awesome to work with. But then there's some other builders that just aren't as pliable. And I tell you what, I'd spend more time utilizing our platform, pushing buyers in whatever direction they wanted.
Oh, yeah.
In whatever direction they wanted. If they wanted new construction, they get new construction. If they, we'll get you educated on new construction. But for it to be a situation, I'm a Libra. I want everybody happy.
Oh, Lord, here we go. Well, I'm a Capricorn, and I'm more business focused, so I'm going to say, I'll scratch your back, you scratch mine, and that's how the market works.
Okay.
And that's for buyers and sellers, and that's for builders and agents and everybody else playing nice in the sandbox.
You just have a different way of saying what I said as far as I want everybody
I'm not going
to
be sweet about it.
Okay.
Bottom line is, I don't want to go show. I don't want to go show their properties and waste gas and time and my client's time if they're not going to work with me.
Sure.
If they're not going to...
And the whole point of when you say not work with you, it's not there's no reciprocation necessarily.
Correct.
It's just a matter of, this is another means by which you can sell your inventory if you're a builder by advertising them on Fresno Multiple Listing Service, by cooperating with agents, by it being a friendly working environment.
Because in the end, we all need each other. And
definitely.
And if I'm not out there selling the resale homes, those folks who want to build new construction, they wouldn't have those clients either. So it's all ebb and flow of the market. So it's all definitely something we need to work together on. And there's some really great builders out there. In fact, Woodside is one that does work with agents.
Yeah.
Like that HUD home. So
gotta love it. Gotta love it. Well, foreclosures fall to pre-housing bust levels. The long national foreclosure nightmare is nearing an end. Did you see the memo? It's almost over.
I'm going to barf in a minute.
With foreclosure filings hitting their lowest level since before the housing bust. The total foreclosure filings, including notices of default, scheduled auctions, and bank repossessions, dropped to 127,790 filings.
And what percentage is that?
Okay. If we had,
sorry.
Hold on. If we had a greater perspective as to what is considered normal.
Normal is 1%. 1 to 2%.
1 to 2% is
a natural, normal real estate market. And when you're talking 122,000 people in foreclosure,
a severed limb's still a severed limb, right?
Yeah,
is that right?
Come on.
It's not just part. It's
the party's still going. Yeah. I mean, really,
but
truly, we're not done.
It's down over 35% over the last 12 months.
Okay, so we were at what?
Well,
45%. Now we're only down to 10% of all homes in foreclosure.
Right. Overall filings have hit their lowest level since December of 2006.
Well, and we just had the stats on the Fresno area, right?
Yeah.
And as far as REOs, 8.9%. Okay, we're not near normal, people.
No.
This is not near normal.
No.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're clear.
Okay,
that's
point.
great news, but we're not near normal yet. Let's get it there.
So directionally, we're headed in the right direction.
Okay, boss.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. There I go, trying to paint a positive picture.
I just feel like everybody wants to spin it when it works for them as far as the news and the press out there. Like, when they want everybody to be scared to death, it's a horrible financial market, and we've got all these foreclosures and blah 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 blah, and then all of a sudden, we're almost to the end. We've made such progress. Now we want it to look. Is it because there was an election this week? What? I mean, really?
Once again.
Oh, no, that was local.
You know
Never
as well
mind.
as I do, the media does a phenomenal job.
Don't they spin it?
Now,
I don't want to be. Yeah, we're not included in that.
We're not when we say the media.
Yeah, exactly. Johnny, did you just roll your eyes at me?
He did.
I think he's grounded.
Are you firing off a memo in the morning?
I'm offended by that.
Yeah.
Because I just feel like when it suits them, they spin it the way they want to.
Sure. So how do we spin it?
We spin it that we're making progress, but we're not there yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're glad to see more houses on the market. Foreclosures or not, doesn't really matter at this point. We just need more houses on the market so we can keep things even. Our teeter-totter has been tilted too long.
Yeah, okay. And so where do you feel like with regards to interest? So now that we're being real with each other, Michelle,
yeah.
I feel like we're making progress as far as the relationship
I need a tissue.
And a hug, right?
Yes, Dr. Laura.
So where do you feel we are as far as interest rates are concerned?
As far as interest rates are concerned, I think we still are going to climb a bit. However, I'm very, very saddened to say that our bet at this point, I'm losing. I expected...
We're 3 weeks in, you realize.
I do. That they were supposed to be 3.5 in 30 days. Because I really thought they were going to do that knee-jerk, I'm going to kick it, ooh, now I got to bring it back. And they haven't brought it back yet.
Gotcha.
So... it'll be interesting to watch.
So investors reacted pretty seriously to those comments that Ben Bernanke made 3 weeks ago, or a little over 3 weeks ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interest rates swung up.
Yep.
So
and they've just kind of teetered up in the fours.
Kind of floated around in the fours.
Yeah,
so
they
we're
haven't
still
quite
north
come back.
of 4.
Well, we got 7 days. That's all I'm
We still have
gonna say.
7 days for you to pull this one out
That's
at the
right.
wire.
Yep. 3.5 and 30 was my.
Even though the market's
Guess.
continuing to hit, I'm just saying that it's not looking good.
All I
The
need,
market's
you know what
hitting
I need?
Yes, what do you need?
I need the press to get out there and say, interest rates are going to go down. We're on the right direction. We're going down, and then what'll happen? They'll go down. Johnny even shook his head yes.
You really?
I mean, really.
You really think that's how
I
it
do.
works?
I think it's a bunch of bull.
Okay, so you realize that the moment...
I think it's all about how we want to swing it, Ben or whoever. Put them on the front page, and we're going to head that direction.
Sounds to me like you're getting out your rainbow spray paint.
I'm sorry. No, I think, yeah, well, maybe.
You realize she's got me kind of tongue-tied.
I'm sorry.
That doesn't happen often. You realize that the more negative economic news that we see,
The more negative the market goes.
the more negative the market goes,
Correct.
and the flip side, the more there is a fleeing of sorts to bonds. And that's where we see investors pricing those mortgage-backed securities. If we see those yields on bonds go down, then guess what? That means there's negative news in the market. Employment numbers are up. It's looking bad. Greece is, we've still got so many problems out there, both nationally, both here at home as well as internationally, that are at some point going to take this market off its high of 15,000 plus points. And interest rates are going to dip again at some point. But is it going to be after 7 days from now? It is going to be after 7 days.
No, I don't think so.
You don't think
There's still hope. There's still hope. All I need is a little press
There we go.
back
Well,
up.
speaking of hope, let's talk about the city of Detroit files bankruptcy on 18
Is that hope
plus,
or hopeless?
Hopeless. $18 billion in debt. A $398 million annual shortfall.
I would love to mention pensions.
Yes.
Let's talk about the
They
pensions.
call that...
I just think it's really enlightening for those in the Fresno community to hear what goes on with the pensions there.
Well, you know that the city of Detroit, 38% of their annual budget comes from legacy costs.
Legacy costs. Explain
Legacy
that
costs,
to me.
meaning pensions.
Okay. 38% of their budget
38% of their total
is
budget.
promised money that they don't have to retirees.
Right.
Wow.
Recently, emergency manager Kevin Orr. Now, I really would not want to be that guy in that position because he's catching heat.
Can I
Go for it.
Yeah, on that note, 38%.
Yep.
Now, I can see where a company, say like Coca-Cola or Pelco or whatever, some company that has gains and losses on an annual basis
Sure.
that they report as a corporation, I could see where you can take and make some gifts to retirement from your wealth, whatever you've gained this year. But we're talking
Are you
about
speaking of something like a dividend?
correct,
Okay.
correct. Well, are you making fun of me?
No.
I think he's making fun of me.
I'm trying to simplify it. I'm not that bright.
but my point is, why would a governmental entity, no matter who they are, city, county, state, whatever, why would you promise more than that person has put in when you are not an income-driven company?
Sounds like a bad business model.
Really? And you know what's concerning to me?
Yeah.
I don't know any city who doesn't have that. or county,
when you,
or state,
when you
or
speak
government.
Of, we talked about Stockton this last year, filing bankruptcy here in California. We also, now we're talking about Detroit. And you listen to the mayor of Detroit and saying, listen, folks, we're not the first, and we most assuredly are not going to be the last.
Correct.
So how many of these baby boomers and millennials and folks
who
that are looking
planning on that retirement?
Planning on that retirement.
Bye-bye.
And looking down the road. Bye-bye.
So what happens? Enron, they go to jail. What happens with county, city, government? Okay, sorry. That's a whole different subject. We'll get there another day.
That's a really good question because we could spend the whole show on Detroit's bankruptcy filing and discussing. So why do we bring it up on the Real Estate Radio Network? Because to a certain degree, real estate plays a significant part because of what we've seen as far as the population of inner city Detroit and how it has gone downhill.
Right.
In excess of 1 million people to now somewhere down in the ballpark.
So then property values lessen, then property taxes lessen because you don't have the value anymore, and it just is like it's spinning.
And then on top of it, you also have the properties themselves
maintaining.
That are just dilapidated.
Yeah.
Where the emergency city manager is saying, it is a problem when you have a tree growing up through the middle of a house.
Because it's been empty.
Because it's been empty for 40 years.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have to demolish it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And where do you start? Where, in terms of infrastructure, where does it look like if you've got a compound fracture in 4 different places on your leg? At what point do you start fixing that compound fracture, or do you just end up lopping it off?
And isn't that amazing in modern day America that we're looking at a city? It almost sounds like a story from the Bible, a biblical city where the city has been, emptied and like from back in the day.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, and this is modern day America.
And what other prominent business do we have in Detroit?
Yeah.
It's home to the automakers.
Yeah. Oh, Henry's been gone a long time.
Well,
thank God for Henry, but he's been gone a while.
In homage to Henry, yes.
Yeah, in homage.
Well, it's just interesting, though, that I was watching something on CNBC this week, and the gentleman that was being interviewed was asked, so do you believe that the governmental entities should be held to, because unions are going to throw an absolute stink in court, because it just so happened that recently, and this is what was interesting to me, they just renegotiated some pension contracts, and that they're bringing those, the intent is they're going to bring those contracts into court to show that, that the city, which sounds just
funny to us,
crazy to me, we're going to bring these in to show that the city had money to pay those pension liabilities, which I don't understand where the contract states. It's like my intent, I signed on a signature loan, and if I can't pay it at some point down the road, you take my stuff back. I mean,
that's what happens. Right.
That's what happens. If the city
can't do it, what they promised,
they've got to reorganize. Granted, this is
and here's the thing: it's an issue that's grown generation over generation.
Correct.
Just as the one here locally grows generation over generation from a lack of commitment to balancing budgets.
40 years in the making. Yeah. And probably in excess of 40 years.
Oh,
because something happened back in the late 60s and early 70s that...
We started letting cars from other countries come in.
Oh,
I'm sorry. I don't know. I'm just teasing.
But speaking of cars...
I drive a Toyota. I mean, what can I say? I'm sorry.
But speaking of cars, never mind.
Anyways.
But speaking of cars, the gentleman was asked, hey, so who do you think should basically take care of this liability? And he says, well, the state and the federal government.
Oh, my gosh. And where are we getting it?
Detroit just got a huge bailout. And we think that the state and the federal government should come in and do the same thing. So once again,
cause and effect.
You're entitled, and there is cause and effect, but nobody wants
to take
responsibility, and they just want to make the effect all better.
Band-aids.
Yeah.
Band-aids.
Once again, we're going to put a Band-aid on
Let the wound bleed and call it a day, if you ask me.
Oh, my gosh.
Alrighty. Sorry.
Bottom line is decades of decay as far as the inner city real estate's concerned, coupled with not doing a very good job of managing the city's pension liabilities and not standing up to the unions when it came time.
City, states, counties, government entities, take heed. This is Stockton. Now we got Detroit. There's going to be many more.
There is going to be.
Let's just pray it's not here in the Central Valley.
Ay, ay, ay.
Hey, it is what it is.
Hey, just so you know, we've got Mike here in the studio, so Mike can talk to you.
He's going to talk to me about how I can buy an insurance policy.
Exactly.
To cover this kind of bull.
Exactly.
Well, I don't know if really he has one, but he's going to tell me if he does or not.
You can buy an insurance policy for most everything.
Well, that's what, yeah. I'm sure we could. We're going to work on that.
Again, if you have any real estate or mortgage-related questions or questions regarding the information that Michelle, Mike, and myself share with you on the show today, give us a call anytime, 800-979-3958. Again, that's 800-979-3958. Take us with you wherever you go and listen in on your smartphone with the iPeak Tuner app that you can get at your app store. You can also listen to us online at kmjnow.com. You can also check out our resources. Go to our website, valleywidesales.com. Search for your new home. To friend us on Facebook, use press 4 keywords.
KMJ, call Valley
Or use
Wide.
press 4 keywords.
KMJ, call Valley Wide.
There you go. To call into the show anytime. Yes,
I thought that's what you said the first time. I'm sorry.
Right, okay.
Yeah. Good morning, Greg. My
As
head
we
really
mentioned,
hurts.
we've got Mike Hewitt. Thank you for that
My head's
just
not
smooth
here.
transition
Sorry.
to Mike. Don't you love that introduction there, Mike?
That was great.
Again, we've got Mike Hewitt with Farmers Insurance. Oh, my God, it gets worse.
Johnny,
We're going to speak with Mike about...
can we do a do-over?
Yeah, no. Make sure you stay with us. You're listening to The Real Estate. Yeah, Mike, after the break. Yeah, okay, cut. No. You are listening to The Real Estate Radio Network, helping you to redefine real estate and learn how to talk like people like us. Here on 105.9 FM KMJ.
This program is brought to you by the Real Estate Radio Network. Visit realestateradio.us for more info. That's realestateradio.us.
Mortgage interest rates are at historic lows, and there's never been a more affordable time to buy real estate. Whether you're looking for your first home, moving up, or your next income-producing property, let the mortgage professionals at Valley Wide help. Valley Wide Homes has been helping homeowners with their mortgage needs since 1997. When it comes to the Valley's real estate, we know our way around the neighborhood. Call toll-free, 800-979-3958, and put the seasoned professionals at Valley Wide Homes to work for you. Valley Wide Homes, NMLS number 342062, 235-952, California Department of Real Estate License 0122-8460. Have you ever thought about going solar? It's never been easier to go solar than with a SunPower lease. You'll start saving money the very first day. Arise Solar has a team of energy consultants ready to help you determine if going solar is right for you. Start taking control of your energy costs. Contact Arise Solar, your local SunPower Elite dealer at 449-8989. That's Arise Solar at 449-8989. Or use press 4 keywords, Arise Solar.
Did you know that all the tickets you can buy on different websites come from the same place? Did you know that you can buy every ticket you need to any event in the country, the whole country, from Pete's Seats right here in Fresno? If that's the case, you need to call Pete's Seats. Any ticket, anytime. Sports, concerts, theater. Hey, there's seats, and then there's Pete's Seats. Premium tickets for all events, local, national, worldwide. Don't settle for a regular seat when you can get a really good Pete's Seat. Online at peteseats.net or simply 294-SEAT. That's 294-7328.
How much should I be saving? When can I retire? What can I do to ensure that my estate will be left in the hands of my family once I'm gone? Is my hard-earned money safe in today's markets?
With all the uncertainty in today's world, all of us at the Island Group know it is our job to provide answers to these questions. Walk with us, the Island Group at UBS Financial Services. Call me, Kate Island, at 559-248-4097. That's 559-248-4097. And take the first step in protecting your financial future.
All rights reserved. UBS Financial Services, Inc. is a subsidiary of UBS AG. Member SIPC.
You're listening to Real Estate Radio Network with local expert Craig Barton. Now, here's Craig.
I'm still recovering from before the break. I just want you to know.
I'm sorry, Craig. My head's a little hurt, so I'm thinking I'm spinning a little. Sorry.
Just a little bit? Mm-hmm. Oh, my gosh. Well, Mike, we've got Mike Hewitt from Farmers Insurance here in the studio with us. Mike is going to help learn us something about insurance this morning. You know, Mike, like we mentioned before we came into the studio and before we lost it, that, you know, typically folks don't think about insurance until they actually need it.
Absolutely.
I hate to say it like that, you know, and I'll give you an example. You know, there's all sorts of different types of insurance that you're able to write personally.
Correct. I don't know if I can come up with that policy that Michelle was looking for.
Yeah.
But we'll keep looking.
Something tells me no, Mike. I'm just saying.
Well,
what?
Well,
go ahead. What
I
were you
mean,
going to say?
no insurance company in their right mind would insure these counties, cities, governmental agencies against bankruptcy.
This is true.
Because it's all destiny.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on.
There'd have to be some type of forensic auditing of all their
Absolutely.
unfunded liabilities
Yeah.
in order to determine exactly where they're at and really what type of premium matched the risk that they were willing to take on.
There's no
there
premium that
wouldn't be
could
enough.
cover that.
No, there wouldn't be. So we talked about not thinking about insurance until you necessarily need it. And we were going to talk about homeowners insurance today, but I just want to share a little story real quick. I considered my folks pretty doggone savvy. And both my father as well as my mother passed within less than 90 days of each other.
Ouch.
And neither of them had any sort of insurance to help protect against their estate in the event that they, obviously final expense. You see that a lot on LinkedIn. We were talking about LinkedIn earlier. Final expense insurance and
But don't you think a lot of folks, because they were mature adults, they weren't raising children any longer.
Right.
You were a grown young man.
Right.
Yeah, laugh at that. I'm laughing too. Anyways,
that was sweet of her to say.
but my point is, though, I think part of the sales spiel that you hear in buying life insurance is, how do you take care of them when you're gone? Isn't that kind of the mantra that goes along with life insurance?
Well, we always say
if you're not
that
raising children, then maybe the thought process is, I don't need it anymore. Even though
What were you going to say, Mike?
Well, we always say that it's the investment that you make that you hopefully never have to use.
Right.
But, it's like you said, if what we want to do is at some point progress to the point where you have enough assets where you don't have to worry about the life insurance policy.
So that teeter-totter swings the other way and your
Correct.
assets outweigh the insurance, so you drop
that's
the
a very good
insurance.
point. That is an amazing point right there. But bottom line is, and we're addressing specifically insurance or life insurance right at the moment, is, again, like you had mentioned, what would someone do if you weren't there? What type of income replacement? Mm-hmm. I just think it's, and I can't say this enough, I think it's extremely, extremely important. We've seen our nation go through so much over the last 6 or 7 years. Mm-hmm. From folks losing homes, folks losing businesses, folks losing their spouse, whether it be to, their passing or going to jail, for crying out loud. We've seen a number of those very national pictures of folks that were doing things that it wasn't so good, and they got taken away for quite a while. But folks have lost a lot. And thinking about taking a certain portion of their disposable income and utilizing it for those things that they really need to be responsible for, whether it's their family, whether it's their home, whether it's their automobile, whether it's their life, it's just been one of those, I think, those issues that's kind of been swept under the rug. And I would hope that as we are recovering as a nation, that we will all take a huge step in the right direction as far as responsibility is concerned. Now, granted, this is me a little bit on my soapbox.
Are you on a soapbox right now?
I am. I really am. Did you notice?
Go right ahead.
I just really do. I feel very...
Preach it, Craig. Preach it.
I feel very strongly about that, because were there times as a child that I was growing up and I was in my 20s and I didn't have life insurance? Yes. Up through the time that I was 24. And a very good friend of mine who was an insurance agent got me started with my first policy way back in the day. And it was the smartest thing that I didn't realize that I'd ever done. Because you think when you are 24 that you're invincible. And again, just like automobile insurance. You were talking about automobile insurance before we came on the air this morning. And you said, I've had to come up with $1,000 out of my pocket because I didn't have coverage that included a rental. And Mike brought up a very good point. Insurance is always something that you don't think you ever need until you actually need it. What type of protection is important to cover you? Whether it's, for us, errors and omissions insurance. What does that pay for? It pays for some sort of error or omission on our part to protect us in the event that we get sued in the line of our...
Well, we do live in California. Somebody sues somebody all the time.
And that's why we have...
errors and omissions.
Yes, exactly.
Let's talk about homeowners.
So, homeowners insurance.
Yeah, because I got some questions from a real estate standpoint.
Okay.
Can I ask Mike?
Go for it.
Should I let Mike talk first? Or
Yeah, no, go for it.
Okay. One of the questions I had was, I've often been told until when you're purchasing a home, you get your policy estimate, etc. It goes and it's directly taken care of by your loan when your loan funds. Well, I had a situation last week, and I've always been told the insurance doesn't take place until you get your keys, until it actually records in your name. So tell me, Mike, my client's house funded on Friday, but they couldn't record until Monday. So they didn't get their keys until Monday. If that home had burnt down over the weekend, for instance, because it's a big deal, we agents cannot give the keys until it closes and is recorded. Mm-hmm. And that's what I've always been told, is the insurance won't cover it if something happens. It's not technically their house, is what they say, until, Tell me, is that true?
Well, every insurance company is a little bit different, but as far as my experience and what I've seen is when the title company or the lender sends that binder request, they give an effective date of when that transaction is going to take place. And as we know, there's changes that occur, and
sure.
loans get put out, and sometimes they close a little bit early. But from my experience, when we issue that binder request, we're binding that property.
It's a done deal.
And, there are times when that process might take another week, but we've got the house insured.
Gotcha.
And it's got to
Okay.
go through a step of underwriting
Sure.
procedures and everything else. But that's the date that we're basically giving it to cover that property.
And would you also take into consideration as well that if, let's say, that loan, in Michelle's example, had funded on Friday, didn't go on record until Monday, but the previous owner's insurance should be in fact. Hopefully that policy is still in effect, or hopefully if it's an REO or a foreclosure, that particular entity has some sort of blanket that covers all of their REO properties.
That's the way it should work.
Yeah.
And we were talking about subrogation earlier,
Yeah.
and that's another example of where subrogation might be taken into effect as well, when you've got a previous property owner, whether it's bank owned or a private party, and it was insured through that bank with another vendor, if you will.
Gotcha.
Then they should go to that position first.
Sure.
Gotcha.
So who has exposure?
Yeah, when all of the outlets,
what underlying insurance?
all the fixtures and appliances get stolen, who should be taking care of that when you're in escrow? I mean, really, those questions come up for us. We have to deal with it however we're told to deal with it in general. But
well, it's just like us. Who wants to write that check?
Nobody does. Nobody. They're all running in different directions, and they leave it to the agents to stare at each other, going, "I don't know. What do we do?"
You tell me.
The original intent of insurance was to share the risk. Share the loss of the few over the risk of the many. Is that correct, or something along those lines?
Right.
So, speaking of homeowners insurance specifically, what are some of the trends that you have seen over the last couple of years, or something that's top of mind, or things that are top of mind right at the moment in the homeowners insurance industry?
I think the most current trend we're seeing is property values starting to come up again, which is a good thing for all of us that are property owners. And always want to check your policy and make sure that you have the correct coverages, because I know for our company, when we're getting ready for renewal, we will reevaluate that property value and whether it goes up or down based on current trends for reconstruction. And we want to make sure that there's always enough coverage. Now, I want to premise this by saying that most of the things we're going to talk about today are in relation to two types of policies, an HO2 or an HO3 policy, which are comprehensive coverages. There are other policies you can get, just a dwelling only, but you're not going to have the same comprehensive coverages that you would with an HO2 or an HO3.
And I don't know what HO2 specifically and HO3 mean, but when we talk comprehensive, we're talking about replacement value, the replacement of that home should something happen.
Correct.
Okay.
And most of our, in fact, all of our next generation homeowners policies have comprehensive coverage with the 125% replacement cost coverage. Reconstruction value.
So as values are increasing, that has to be relooked at, because the cost of construction will continue to rise.
Correct.
I see. Okay.
Well, as the value of that property increases, so is
the cost to replace it.
Right.
Yeah. Now, well, this is off subject. Keep going. I'm sorry, I interrupted. I was curious about belongings, people's belongings in a house.
Oh, we're going to talk about that in a little bit. We get down to the personal property section.
All right, I'm going to shut up then.
But as far as the trends, that's one of the things that I see. And so you want to check and make sure you have the right amount of coverage. And If your home burns down, we want to make sure that we have enough to replace it if something were to happen. Another trend that I'm seeing is homeowners trying to save money, and they're increasing their deductible amounts, their deductible limits.
Sure.
And that's just a current trend that I've seen in the last couple of years, where with the failing economy and real estate doing what it's been doing the last few years, that people are looking for other ways to save some additional income.
That is kind of scary. It's just a reminder that, we're not out of the woods yet. We really are not. We still have, as you mentioned earlier, Michelle, we've still got so
far to go. And just out of curiosity, just on the insurance subject, when the housing market tumbled, I anticipate a lot of the insurance market was hit really strongly because of the economic repercussions of homeowners insurance lapsing and
Well, if you have a
things of that
foreclosure,
nature.
how many homeowners policies didn't renew on an annual basis, and how did we see that number increase from 2006, 2007, 8, 9, 10? There was force-placed insurance from lenders that they would say, hey, you haven't paid your homeowner's insurance in a while because you haven't made your payment.
And nobody wants that.
No,
right.
because it's 5 times
So how
what
did you
the other
guys,
policy was.
how did that affect you guys on a daily, and are you seeing it go the other way now?
I would say, my personal experience, I haven't experienced it as much.
Okay.
It's out there, but the main thing is you keep bringing in more business than what's going out the back door.
Gotcha.
And that's what's important. You got to
You
continue.
hear that,
marketing.
Michelle? You need to bring more business in the front door than it's going out the back door.
That sounds so weird when you say it, Craig.
Okay.
Wow.
But I would say that there are other avenues to increase the revenue and increase your business, and
I
that's
just
what you
wondered
have to look at.
how that industry was hit, because ours was hit so specifically.
Our industry has been more impacted by the natural disasters and
Gotcha.
things, across the country than the foreclosure market.
And knock on
because
wood.
usually when somebody's losing a property, somebody else is gaining it.
So
And
somebody's
somebody's going to pick
shifting.
up that business.
I see.
That's a good point.
I like
Very
that.
good point. So what are some of the losses or more common losses that you see here, and common losses that are covered, and maybe even some common losses that aren't necessarily covered under a standard homeowner's insurance policy here in California? Like the most common that we see or hear of is what? Fire, right?
Fire and theft.
And
Yeah.
theft,
Fire and
burglary.
theft. There you go.
Yeah.
And I would say that's been a trend more so the past 4 years, is the increase of burglaries. More so.
And is that driven
more
economically, you think?
Absolutely.
I mean, it's got to be driven economically, and the lack of facilities to put people who are breaking the law in. I mean,
Well,
it's a governmental issue.
Well,
generations and generations of it.
The way I put it is, people lost their job, so they went out and got a new one.
Got a new one, yeah. Yeah.
Right.
But,
We're all paying
maybe,
the price.
Exactly. Not the right kind of job, but they've got a new job.
Yeah.
And that is to steal from you.
Nice.
And so that's what we've seen as an increase. And the main thing is people want to make sure they have the proper amount of coverage, to make sure that they're covered in those events.
Now, let me ask you this. When, say, my car's in the driveway and it gets broken into, is that a homeowner's issue or a car insurance issue?
Well, if you have items that are stolen out of your car, that's a homeowner's issue.
That's a homeowner's issue. Okay,
Yeah, we're
good
going
to
to
know,
talk about
because
that on the personal property too. But that is a lot of people. That's a misconception from a lot of people,
Yeah.
is they think that anything stolen out of their car is going to be covered by their auto insurance.
and that's not true.
That's not true. Those are your personal effects that are covered under your homeowner's or renter's policy if you
I
have to
see.
be renting a dwelling.
Gotcha.
Wow.
Good to know. Good to know.
You almost have to have a Farmers University degree.
And
right?
that
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get you one.
There you go.
And that question came directly from a situation that happened in our office parking lot not too long ago, where my boss left something in the car. Anyways, okay.
Well, there's more of that going on,
Yes.
unfortunately.
I think
we
I-
all do pay the price.
I think I have a big bullseye
On the back
on
of
the back
your
of my
back
truck.
or on
no,
your
on
truck?
the back of my truck.
You think so?
I really do.
Yeah.
Well, if it'll make you feel any better, can I tell a story?
Yeah.
I know of I go to the gym every morning, and I happened to be at the gym one morning, and one of the guys that's there every morning, like me, was talking about a break-in at his home. And he told me he was up that morning about 6 o'clock, and he was going around the yard and picking up his trash and cleaning up the debris and whatever, and he walked back in the house. He came back out, and his truck had been broken into. They smashed his window and took all the stuff out of the back seat.
Oh, gosh.
And so
While
it
he
can
was in the
happen
house.
any time. Well,
Yeah.
the guy was up and around, and the bad thing is he's an Fresno police officer. So just kind of
Is his name Chris?
It can happen to anyone.
Is his name Chris?
No, it wasn't Chris. I'm sorry.
Hey,
That happened to Chris not too long ago,
Let's
too.
yeah.
Sorry. The names have been changed. To
The
protect
names to
innocents.
protect the innocent. That's right. That's right.
His real name's Christopher.
Okay.
So again, getting back to what are some of the we talked about loss as far as fire is concerned, fire and theft. What are some of the other losses or common losses that you see?
Probably the most consistent, like I said, it would be the burglary, and the next one would be fire.
Gotcha.
Not so much in our area, but in the outlying areas where you have more fire, forest fire potential,
right,
there's a higher risk.
So, do the homeowners insurance policies cover a home for loss as far as an example, lightning or windstorms or tornadoes or hail or something along those lines?
Absolutely. All of those perils. The only thing you want to look at is the dollar limits for your policy specifically.
Gotcha.
Because every policy is different. And just like we talked about before, is an HO2 or an HO3 policy, you may have a dwelling-only policy, and your exposure limit or coverage limit might be lower than what the reconstruction cost would be. So you want to make sure that you check your coverage on that and make sure that you have it at least at the value of the property.
Wow. It'd be real easy for an unsuspecting consumer that doesn't know
insurance,
that doesn't know insurance and doesn't know to ask the right questions or ask the questions that are really pertinent to their situation. Hey, I've got a home that we're in the process of buying, $150,000. It's in the foothills. There is, my guess would be, some sort of a potential fire as well as maybe even a lightning risk. Our elevation is 1,300 feet, or something along those lines. And those are perils that are included or are covered.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Well, it's all going to be taken into consideration where that's located.
Well, that's usually taken into consideration when we're getting ready to buying the property or look at the property for coverage. Foothill properties.
Identify really what we've got.
What are the exposure risks?
Do they still go out and take pictures?
Yeah, absolutely. Agents take pictures, actually.
Yeah.
And we have an underwriting department that goes out and does their job, of course.
I remember that. See?
But then if the house is completely destroyed, then you're looking at your reconstruction cost. And what we talked about before is 125% replacement cost coverage, which is standard on our next generation homeowners policies. And you always want to make sure you have the proper amount of coverage to take care of your losses.
Yeah. Wow.
And that's something can also be driven by personal property as well. Is that correct? In other words, you've got a combination of, I've got a dwelling, it's determined that the cost to replace it is $250,000. But then you've also got personal items that you want to make sure that you identify as, hey, here's all the items that I've listed that I want to make sure that they're covered, and that's far and above and beyond. That's additional insurance that is either, is it covered automatically as far as personal property is concerned, or is it something that there's an additional, it's going to be an additional cost because of the amount of coverage that you're requesting for those items?
It would be like collectibles, right? Collectibles, jewelry, things like that have special.
Well, you have automatic
place?
coverage on an HO2 or an HO3 policy based on the dwelling value. It's going to be a certain percentage of that. And most items are covered between $1,000 and $2,000 per item, depending on your insurance company and, of course, your policy. But that's the standard in the industry. If you have a ring or collectibles, fine art, guns, and each one of those items is over $2,000, you should obtain an additional rider on your policy that's going to cover that specific item or those specific items to make sure that you have a correct coverage for that.
So, yeah.
Like your wife has Michelle, I know you got that $20,000 ring at home.
Yeah, my wife has that $20,000 ring at home,
Yeah.
please.
And so if your house burned down or your ring got stolen, it would only be covered for the limits on your policy.
You definitely want to cover that kind of stuff. Or collectible cars. Here in the Valley, tons of people with little collectible cars in their garages or their little warehouses. Some amazing stuff out there, but you got to make sure it's got a rider. Is that what you called it?
And exactly. And don't think you're going to fly under the radar when I say that, because some folks are just thinking, it's covered. It's
covered. It's in the building.
It's in the building. It's no problem.
Not.
Depending upon what
Don't
it's
take
worth.
your chance.
I have a good friend. He's got a collection of paintings, and if he doesn't have that stuff covered, that's a problem.
Yeah, because my finger painting skills have really slid over the last few years. But I will replace.
Those have a high value to them.
They do.
That was so sweet of you, Mike.
Flood insurance. Let's talk about flood insurance real quick before we
That's an
run out of time.
ever-evolving bullseye. And it's one of those things in our industry that I think I've had to deal with it once every, 8 or 9 years. So
and when it comes up, it's not fun.
And there's never an opportunity to get really good at it. And the last time I had to deal with it, it was with a family member. I was providing the financing on a family member's new purchase. And it just so happened that it was not. This is the interesting part. It wasn't disclosed by the listing agent
or
that property
by the seller.
was in a floodplain.
Wow.
And that's an important disclosure because
absolutely.
It's costly disclosure potential.
And
errors and omissions.
Yeah, and the agent's response was, well, we didn't know it was in a floodplain. Well, the previous homeowners did not. I'm assuming they did not. They say, well, they made the comment, we didn't realize it was in a floodplain because they didn't have any financing on the property.
Oh, no one required it to be looked at.
Nobody checked as part of the underwriting process from a financing standpoint that, hey, you're in a floodplain, and this is the floodplain that you're located in. And if you're able to get, you're either, you're there and this is what the premium is going to be, or if you're able to get an elevation certificate because a certain portion of the property, 95% of the property was not in that floodplain, but a little corner of the property was in the floodplain. And so they had a surveyor go out and survey the property.
Engineer.
Yeah, engineer, there you go. And determine, it goes to show you, Mike, how long.
How much we know about it.
Yeah, one every 8 or 9 years, and it just throws everybody into it. Both situations, though, over the last 20 years have been, there was an engineer was able to go out and survey it.
Well, we had one recently with new construction.
Yep.
And new construction, the developer has to disclose.
Right.
And in some cases, the new developers, that's such a standard procedure for them to get that cert that they don't disclose to agents automatically because they just don't think of it. It's part of their normal process to just cert it and keep going. And so that was a little bit of interesting.
Well, it can be a bit of a surprise as far as the buyer is concerned.
Yeah, and additional cost if we're not careful.
Originally, with this family member, the premium was going to be like $4,000 additional a year.
Wow.
Until we were able to get the elevation cert, and then it dropped it down to, it was under $500.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Big difference.
Yeah.
Well, and I've seen that the city of Visalia did some rezoning with all the building they've done in the last 6-8 years.
Yeah.
It changes all of their soil content throughout each neighborhood. And they went through and they did quite a few changes to their flood zones, which impacted a lot of property owners.
Well, I'm thinking 198, it all just goes in there.
Yeah. All the water just drains into 198, and then you're done, right?
Yeah, I'm thinking it works.
So those flood zones can change over the years.
Sure.
Not a whole lot, but when you have major reconstruction or development like that, you're going to see changes.
It can be as simple as, when I used to work in Visalia years ago, one side of the street, no flood zone.
Right.
Other side of the street, flood zone.
Yeah.
It was that blatant.
Yeah.
And my client was just up in arms. Well, what do you mean it's in a flood?
Yeah.
Well, you lived there first, so I'm just saying you should have been well aware.
Don't be bashing Visalia now. Exactly. I got a good family of Visalia.
No. I wasn't bashing Visalia. I was just, you should have known that you lived in a flood zone. And if I'm the bearer of the bad news, I'm just bringing up what you already know.
There you go.
I think so.
I just want to point out one thing, that the flood insurance coverage is a separate policy from your homeowners.
Very good point.
It's an additional entire policy.
It's an additional separate policy. We issue ours through the National Flood Insurance Program.
And that is, just to make note, those premiums are all standard. So is that correct? So it doesn't matter what agent you utilize.
That's correct.
That's what they're going to be.
It is what it is.
Wow.
Yeah, it doesn't matter who you use, and we go through the NFIP.
See, that's a great thing also to protect you, and I say that to protect you because you give them a quote of $3,500 for flood insurance. You're not going to get any different anywhere else.
I can't bargain on that for you.
Yeah, there's no way. No way.
Yeah, exactly. It's like bargaining with FEMA and the federal government.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, and you know what? Thank goodness we're not in a zone where we see that often.
Let's talk about liability real quick. If someone gets injured on your property, as we talk to folks, and one of the examples that I give is homeowners insurance, which is different than your mortgage insurance that covers you covers the investor in the event you don't make your payments. Your homeowners insurance covers you in the event that, let's say, somebody gets injured on your property.
Correct.
Well, one of the things that it covers liability, and that is one of the things, correct?
Yeah, basically anything that happens, you have a contractor that falls on the property and gets injured, your liability portion is going to cover it, minus your deductible, of course. Your dog happens to bite the mailman, that's another liability issue, probably one of the more prevalent that we see that. But yeah, that's what we mean by the comprehensive coverage we talked about in the earlier part of the show.
Super.
Is our next generation homeowners policies are comprehensive, and we typically would include $300,000 of liability, which is, we feel, a starting point.
Certainly. So just real quick, Mike, if someone wants to have you review, for whatever reason, they want an unbiased third-party opinion that also knows what they're doing, they can call Mike. And, Mike, your contact number is 765-7672.
That's correct.
Is that the best number to get a hold of you?
765.
That's correct.
7672?
Yeah, 765-7672. For a no-cost no obligation, basically look over your situation as far as your plan.
It's an insurance plan, like a financial plan.
Yeah, it's a complimentary review, and we'll do that for everybody but Michelle.
He said that much better.
Because I didn't have that rental car thing going on.
No, she's wanting to insure that thing that you can't insure.
Oh, well, that's a whole nother.
That's a whole nother show.
He's going to have to write a book before we can get that going.
Exactly.
Send it to Ben.
Yeah, there you go. Thanks so much for being with us this morning, Mike. Really do appreciate it. And you're coming back, too. So
I will be back as long as you have me, and I thank you for having me today.
Not a problem. Again, if you have any real estate or mortgage-related questions or questions regarding the information that Michelle and myself share with you on our show, give us a call anytime, 800-979-3958. Again, that's 800-979-3958. You can also go to our website, search for your new home at valleywidesells.com. To friend us on Facebook, use press 4 keywords.
Friend Valleywide on Facebook.
Or to call into the show, use press 4 keywords.
KMJ, call Valleywide.
To get connected to us anytime. We'd love to hear from you. Again, a big thank you to Mike Hewitt from Farmers Insurance. If you'd like a free, no-cost review, call Mike today at 765-7672. Again, that's 765-7672. Also, a big thank you to Michelle Lynn Pettis, my special quirky guest host with the headache this morning. Thanks so much for being here, kid. I appreciate it. Thanks. Thanks so much, Johnny.
Looking for Tylenol.
Yeah, looking for Tylenol. She's been scurrying the office. Big thank you to Johnny B. behind the mics. Johnny, you always make us sound so good. Our goal at the Real Estate Radio Network is to get you, our listeners, the timely and accurate truth about your local real estate market so we can help bring you
back home.
Don't forget to tune into the Real Estate Radio Network next Sunday at 7 a.m. right here on 105.9, the FM KMJ. Local news, local talk. Make it a great day, Central Valley, and we will see you next week.
The preceding program was paid for by the Real Estate Radio Network.